Hi, I'm Steve from Nearly Wild, and today I'm here with
Hugh Evans from Three Pools.
Who? Tell us a little bit about Three Pools. What are you doing here?
We're trying to, it's an experiment to see if permaculture can be scaled up and commercialised. So we've got 140 acres here, running it as an actual business and using permaculture principles to underscore how we design that, which isn't typically how it's used at the moment.
No, absolutely. We heard a little bit from Amy earlier on one of the other films, a little bit about her experiences here. She's been helping you out just for a little bit over COVID period, really, as a volunteer. I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about it from your side of the whole thing of taking on a farm, and that's a pretty massive undertaking in its own right. Why take on a farm?
A fear of climate change and how it's going to affect me in my life, and definitely how it's going to affect my daughter's life.
Right.
I think we're going to see the impacts in my lifetime, and I want to do something that could help mitigate that.
Right.
Farming's one of the only industries which has the opportunity not just to reduce its emissions, but to actively counteract loads of the negative aspects of what we've done to the environment.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mean, you're thinking about it, that you've taken on a commercial farm, and you talk very much as, you know, I want to run this as a business, I want to run this as a farm.
Yeah.
So it's not about suddenly turning it into something wild and putting links on it, or some of the other ideas that have come up from some places. It's about very much keeping it a productive space.
Yeah.
And using permaculture.
I convinced the family to mortgage the family home and people to lend me money. And
I'm getting worried now. You must have amazing powers of persuasion.
I can write a reasonable business plan, seemingly.
Right. Excellent.
So, yeah, it needs to work.
Right. Which is true for many people who are in farming, isn't it? I mean, today there's a lot of pressures on people in farming. And I understand you're farming mainly sheep, and you're just starting to look into cattle as well?
Yeah, we've had cows for almost a year now.
Right.
But we're not really going to see much beef for a while.
Well, takes a while to build it up.
Takes a while. Going to move into, because we want to research and demonstrate, so that gives us the freedom to try anything, and if it doesn't work, that didn't work, but at least we learned something along the way. And certain aspects don't have to get as commercially sensible as other aspects, and that's where kind of the foundation of the business being built on events. These things that we're doing, we can show to the people at the events, and that's part of the draw of the events. And so coming to see a failing idea has value.
Yes.
It might fail commercially, but it tastes good, kind of idea.
Yeah. But you have chosen a very interesting middle model. You've been quite innovative in that, and we were talking about this earlier on. This idea of not thinking you have to start with what you want it to be when it's finished.
Yeah.
But that you're using a series of things that generate income as well as allow you to build the farming side of the practice up. And I think that was a really interesting way of looking at it, with somebody who's sort of coming into it, but very much got farming at its heart.
Yeah. So if we're trying to create a perennial based system, so stuff that you plant once and crops every year, it's going to take at least 10 years for certain trees to be cropping, 20 plus for others. You've got to find some way to make money out of that for the 10 years until it matures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be as simple as planting a smaller plant, like a currant bush, beside your tree that starts cropping after 1 or 2 years. But yeah, it's thinking about the transition system until you get to a mature, yielding, edible landscape.
Right. No, I think that's really interesting. And there's one other thing I just wanted to ask you about, which is we were talking as well about helping people who maybe wouldn't normally engage with permaculture to see it as something that means something to them almost. And so it's not about this as trying to be completely alternative, and people who are associate themselves with being completely outside the system, but it's something different than that.
Yeah, well, it's gone. Permaculture is a design system. It's not a description of a set of techniques. It's like the underlying mentality that goes behind thinking about why you make decisions. So it's built on a set of principles and values that, if you look at them, are actually well thought out.
Yeah.
And sustainability involves like all of the aspects, social, economic, environment, and you have to like make all of them work, not try and create a utopic whatever ideal.
Yeah.
It has to work in all the aspects, and compromise is a pretty useful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's an interesting reflection, and I was thinking about a couple of years ago I was working over on the ooze washes in Norfolk border, and there's an area there where they tried to set up a utopia, and actually they all ended up giving up and going to America because they tried to make it too idealistic, and they haven't got that pragmatism that I think you're trying to bring into that way of thinking.
And it's got to be something that other farmers could be like, oh, I could see how I could shape what I do. Or even someone that runs a corporate business in that city can be like, oh, I've read those principles and values, I can see how I can integrate them into my business. It doesn't need to have anything to do with some land. It's just like, how do you treat people? And how do you treat your supply chain? And what that product or that service, what are the effects in the from start to finish of that?
Absolutely fascinating. Thanks very much for that. For those of you who are interested to hear more, obviously you can put more information at the end of the video and links to what's being done here. But I think it's a fascinating project. I look forward to seeing how you develop the farm over the years,
Nice, thank you.
Hopefully doing some work together as well.
Yeah. Nice.
Great. Thank you.